In Minecraft, no style of building is more iconic than the classic medieval fantasy house. At a glance, these houses might seem difficult to build, but what many people don't know is that these houses actually follow a few really simple rules. And once you know them, you'll be able to basically print out these houses in your sleep. So I'll be trying to teach you everything I know, and hopefully you can at least learn the basics of how to build these houses for yourself. The first thing before we even start building is to decide what blocks we're going to use. In Minecraft, every house has at least 4 distinct parts which each need a different block palette. And those parts, of course, are the frame, the foundation, the walls, and the roof. So I'm going to pick out some blocks here and just kind of explain why I'm using them. So first up for the frame, I think I'm going to go for stripped spruce. It's kind of just like a classic. Can't really go too wrong with it. We might mix some oak in there though. So maybe have like a, some kind of like textured sort of deal there. We start thinking about, texturing and that kind of stuff at this stage as well, of course. Next up for the foundation, of course, you're kind of usually going to go for some sort of like stone. Since I'm keeping it simple in this video, we're going to go for like a very simple sort of stone brick palette. You could, of course, mix some tuff in there, maybe some moss, which I might do later on in the build. But this is kind of like the general sort of palette stuff here. Next up for the walls, I'm going to kind of go for like my classic. Like I usually do this kind of block palette when I build walls. And that's kind of like a white sort of gradient, not necessarily like a gradient, just kind of like the palette I use for texturing, kind of starting a bit more like dark and like dirtier, and then getting to like a more bright white. Might seem kind of weird if you don't build out of wool, but it has a really nice just kind of white color to it. And when you kind of like step back, it just makes it look like a very nice sort of textured wall. So yeah, that's kind of the wall texture I'm going to use. And now we got to decide on what to do for the roof. When picking blocks for the roof, it might seem kind of weird, but I usually like going for sort of brighter colors. I'm aware this has kind of become a bit of a joke on my channel. I build houses with wool roofs. I know, I'm aware. I think I'm gonna go for a more detailed sort of gradient. Let me try to get that out real quick. Let me try to get a vibe going here. All right, that might look a little stupid, but I think I can make that work. We'll see. Maybe swap these. We'll see. I think I might actually like that over there more. Again, this is just kind of like the planning stage, so nothing here is too final. I think I want to go for something like that with the roof. Maybe some leaves on it, some plants in the mossy sections. We'll see. Just kind of something a bit like intricate and sort of detailed. But yeah, that's basically the first step done, and that's just deciding on a palette. This, of course, could change later in the build, and I probably will change some stuff with the palette. I'll probably mix some moss in here. I'm not 100% sold on this roof palette yet. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, just kind of settle on the palette, get an idea for your building, and that's kind of the first step here. Now that we have some kind of idea of what blocks you want to use and maybe sort of vibe we're going for, we actually want to just kind of completely ignore that for now for a second here. And we want to start getting a plan out for the shape. When planning a medieval house, basically the most important thing that I would say is to try to keep the walls odd, at least where you know a roof will meet in a point. So usually what that means, of course, is having walls that are either 3 blocks, 5 blocks, 7 blocks, and occasionally 9 blocks. This will probably be the biggest size we'll be working with today. If you do any bigger, you might need to kind of make the roof a bit more intricate and detailed, but we'll be working with a 9 block wall today, I believe. So what we're gonna do, starting with red wool here, just go 9 across. It's a pretty big sort of like wall shape. I'm not entirely sure. I might end up doing the frame on the inside of it so that the wall itself is only like 7 blocks. But for now, kind of just gonna get a rectangle in, I think is how we'll start this. So right now what we have here is a 9x15 sort of cube. If you actually think about the size of the house though, this is going to be a bit smaller because we're going to have foundation blocks and then a frame block on the outside. So actually what we have here will be like a 7 by like 13, I think, or so, something like that. So it'll be a bit smaller once we build it. But basically for the shape, the way I usually do it in my head is I start with like one kind of central rectangle and then I think about ways I can make the shape a bit more interesting. So we start with this one and then maybe on this side I want something to just come out a chunk here. Maybe it'll be a bit smaller, so we'll have like a 7 block section come out over here. And maybe on this side, we'll have like a wider but shorter section. So maybe something like that. And yeah, I think I like that for the shape of the house. I'm gonna real quick explain my kind of thought process here, because it's very important to get this stage right, or you're kind of cooked later on, right? So I know that in the middle is my biggest section, right? This will have the steepest roof, it'll have the tallest roof, and to kind of like account for that, it has the biggest like single wall length, right? So it's a 9 block wall. So we'll have the tallest roof, of course, because for every block, it goes up a certain amount. So 9 block wall will have the tallest roof. So I know that if I need a roof to connect to this roof, then this one will have to be shorter. So because this side has a wall length that is shorter, if we take this up here, it will hopefully meet up below the top of this roof, because what you don't want is for this roof to go over this roof and then it connects to nothing and it'll look really awkward. So you kind of want a middle section with the tallest roof and everything connects lower to it, which will be very important later. Now that we're finished with our 2D plant, it's time to make it a 3-dimensional shape, and this is where the house will kind of like start taking form and you'll be able to really tell if you like it or not. We'll start with the foundation here, of course. Again, just still using wool here just for planning. I think for the middle part, you usually either want to do a 2 or 3 block foundation, at least for how I prefer building houses and kind of the proportions I like for it. Sometimes in like city settings, maybe you want to make it taller. But yeah, depending on kind of the width of the wall. Just whatever looks good proportion to you. I think maybe we'll go for 3 here though. Make it a bit taller since this is kind of like the main section of the house, you know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm gonna just take this whole middle rectangle up like that here, and we'll see what it looks like. All right, yeah, I like the height that has. I think the height has a good kind of proportion with the size of like the main chunk of the house here. Now what we're gonna do is this side over here, right? And when building a foundation for a house, it's always like a good idea to add a bit of variation. So I think what I'm gonna do for this part is have the foundation a block lower. And maybe we could add some kind of split in there to just add a bit more shape to it. We'll see how it looks. I think I like it. Just a bit of shape variation in there. And then over here, I think we'll have the same height as over there. So we'll bring it up just like this, bring it over up here. And again, this is all placeholder blocks. This will be replaced by the palette we chose earlier. Or of course, whatever palette you want, you can always change it. Not too serious. I think what I'll do here is like right here, we'll add just one sort of like beam here, which will just help break up the shape a little bit. Might do it on the front and back too. We'll see how it kind of feels later. I think I do want that though. Actually, yeah, we'll go for that. Why not? Let's see what we're looking at here. All right, that's not bad. I think that's a pretty good shape for foundation for our house. I'm pretty happy with it. And now it's time to start planning out the walls. We'll of course, once again, start with the main section of our house, which is this middle rectangle. As you can see from the top down, the internal part will be 7 blocks across at the bottom because, you know, the frame block in the corner, they don't really count, right? So it'll be 7 in the middle. So usually for a wall that's like 7 across, I say you take this up about 5 blocks because if you do any taller, starts looking a little weird, I think, after this. We'll see though, we'll see what it looks like. I don't think that's bad, but if we go any taller, I think it would start looking kind of, you know, it's a bit too square, I feel like, at 7 blocks. So we'll do a block shorter. This is a really important stage, by the way. I'd say this might be the most important part when building a house, is to get this part right, really. Because if you look at what this would look like a block lower, this is like a 4 block. It just doesn't quite look proportional. It looks a bit smushed. And that's obviously gets worse if you do something like a 3 block tall wall. It's kind of cooked, I'm not gonna lie, okay? It's not great. So we're gonna go for pretty tall. I think we'll do like a 5 block sort of gap here. We'll see what it looks like. And yeah, I think I like that. We can of course always change that. It might look a little weird right now, but we'll have kind of like frame blocks to add a bit of shape to it. We'll have a big door, we'll have a big window, maybe a lantern in the middle, and it'll fill out really well. So we're just gonna kind of ignore that it looks a bit terrible right now, but that's fine. This part over here, I think we'll make just as tall. But again, the foundation on this part is a block shorter, so there'll still be a bit of height variation if we connect that over. Okay, I'm liking it. Again, just kind of think of how it connects. That's kind of a really important part. So right here, it's kind of a bit of an awkward connection. It's not too bad, but just make sure you kind of put a bit of a frame block here. So this will be log later, of course, and it'll work really well as kind of a just nice break for it. We might actually drop this another block. I think that might look better. That looks a bit better, like proportionate to like the size of the foundation and everything. So we'll extend that over. Keep this frame going up though. And yeah, it's not bad. And then over here, I think we'll make it the same height as the other side. But now that we have the planning done for both the foundation and the walls, it's time for what, in my opinion, is like the most important part, and that is planning out the roof. Now, you've already heard me kind of go on a bit about my roof thought process throughout this video as I'm planning the walls, and that's because, honestly, this step is something that you should be thinking about the whole time before this, which, of course, I have. And the way I want these roofs to connect is that I want this to be kind of the point here. So yeah, that's how I want this front part to be, and I do like the way that shape looks. I think it kind of started to make this wall part look better too, even with a bit of height on it. Now over here, we'll do the same thing. I know I want this roof to connect that way, right? So I'll put the roof over here. I'll go into better detail shortly about how to actually properly build roofs. So, you know, stick around for that. Okay. Maybe we make that a block taller though. Nothing wrong with, you know, changing what you already built. I think I like that. Kind of has a nice silhouette to it. And over here is kind of the weird part because I'm not entirely sure how I want to do this. I'm not entirely sure about how I want to handle this part of the roof yet. That's perfectly okay. We'll figure that out in the next step of the build, I think. But yeah, that's basically it for planning, and it might not look like it, but this is basically like 90% of like the trouble of building a house done, which I know might seem kind of crazy. We have wool pillars, but the shaping and ideas is truly kind of the most important part of building a house. So if you're happy with the way it looks at this point, you've made a lot of progress, and I think you'll be happy with the house once it's done. We'll see though. Anyway though, now that the wool planning is done, it's time to finalize the frame. We're gonna grab whatever blocks we chose earlier. So I'm doing oak wood and strip spruce wood. I think I'll just get oak wood in first and I'll add the strip spruce later. So all we're gonna do is go through, we'll start with the foundation, I guess, why not? Just replace it with whatever block you chose earlier. For logs, always try to like consider the classic, which is the fact that logs are directional. So don't do stuff like this, placing the wrong way, all right? Whatever way you decide to do it, keep it consistent. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna take these pillars straight up, I think, and then I'm gonna branch it with these. So I'm just gonna keep it consistently like that throughout the whole thing. So I'm just gonna real quick replace all the wool blocks that I use for the frame, and we'll see what we're working with here. Okay, foundation frame is done. I'm liking it. Let's do the walls real quick as well. All right, so that's the frame for the foundation and the walls done. I'm liking it. I'm gonna go through and texture with some stripped spruce, and we're just gonna kind of look at the way it looks. All right, that's not bad. It looks a bit messy right now, but there'll be a lot of trapdoors on it and stuff covering up the texturing later anyway, so I'm pretty happy with it. Real quick before we get into the roof, I just want to say I have a Discord link down below, discord.gg/rowannn with 2 N's. I'd really appreciate you join. If you end up following these build tips, you know, maybe drop a picture in there in the build stuff channel. I'd be really curious what you build. Maybe if the advice helped you at all, it'd be pretty cool to see. I also got a Minecraft server. We got a build server on there, and we got survival, southhollow.us. You know, you should join that. But yeah, let's get to the roof now. Now, the roof is really important. If there's any part that I see a lot of people often mess up when building this kind of house, it would be the roof. We've already done a lot of preparation to make sure that the roof goes smoothly. So of course, we have everything on an odd center. We make sure that everything will kind of meet up properly when we build it. And of course, obviously, we kind of have this rough plan for it. But now it's time to actually build the roof. And yeah, this is where it could go wrong, all right? I'll give a real simple tutorial for how I usually build roofs. I start with a stair lined up with the top part of the frame. I see a lot of people start up here, and that leads to like a lot of awkward gaps in here. So I usually start it lined up with the top of the frame, and then I'll start with another stair upside down, another stair right side up, and then another stair upside down. And that kind of starts it with like a gradual slant. But after this one, we'll start with a block and then a stair on top of it. Starting to get the slant a little steeper here. We'll do the same thing again. Stair, block, stair. And now that we're up this high, we're gonna make it a bit more steep of a slant. So we'll do 2 blocks and then a stair. Now that we're at the top and it meets in a point, we do an upside down stair this way. I'll do 2 blocks. I actually might do 3 blocks here, why not? Then we kind of cap it off like this, or of course you could do it the other way too. I feel like doing it like this for this one though. So then we kind of just take a step back. Do we like that shape? I think I do. I think I do. We'll see what it looks like once I do the other side here. And do I like that? I'm not entirely sure. It might look a little better if I make it a bit steeper sooner. So we'll try 2 blocks a bit earlier here. Yeah, I like that. I like that. But yeah, I think that looks pretty good for this front part. Now what we'll do is we'll get this side sort of roof. So here's gonna be an example of how to do it on a bit smaller of a roof, because again, this one is only 5 across instead of that one, which is 7 across. So we'll get rid of the wool. Of course, follow it across. Again, lined up with the top of the frame. Most important part here. Block. 2 blocks, 3 blocks. And yeah, I think that looks pretty good. I think it lines up at a nice height. Of course, copy this to this side. Let's just copy the same thing on the back here, and we'll kind of see what we're working with there. Okay, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Now I gotta worry about over here, which was the part I wasn't super sure of. I think I like it. Kind of just a smaller, like, understated part over there. But yeah, now that the roof shape is completely done, I'm pretty happy with it. It's finally kind of time here to get the blocks in that we chose earlier. What I'm gonna do first is just grab, like, kind of the base block for each of them, so it'll be these 2, and just fill it in untextured pretty much, and just kind of get like a nice view of what it's looking like. Kind of the last chance to decide if we like the house or not, before it's kind of a lot of work to change it, you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna fill everything in. I like it, I like it, I'm liking it, I'm liking it. That's tough. But yeah, let's fill everything in here, and then kind of step back again and see if it's looking good or not. It's fire. It's fire. We're cooking. We're cooking. Now that the main kind of level is done, we got to move up, and this is where it gets a little bit complicated. Make sure you keep the wall block for this part level with this. All right, don't move it forward here. It'll look weird. It looks weird. Okay, don't do that. Keep it on this kind of level here, all right? And just carry it up. My mouse stopped working. Classic. Just carry it up wherever you need it. So right here, you see this will peek through, so we need a block here, blocks here. Again, this will peek through, so we need a block there, we need a block there. So when you look at it straight on, it'll be completely full. So you're just gonna carry that everywhere that you have kind of a roof frame. All right, and that's kind of the whole wall part filled in, and I'm really liking the way this house looks. I think it has a really nice shape to it. I think it's like just unique enough while still, you know, being the classic medieval fantasy house that we're set out to build here. With the walls and everything done, it's finally time to move on to actually filling in the roof, and this can get pretty complicated. We're just gonna choose a random block here. I like cyan wool as kind of the base for this palette. So we're just gonna start filling it in. The way I prefer doing this is the block goes like on the outside of the stair, right? I prefer the way it looks. I like the depth it has. So just fill this in, and you kind of see what I mean here. Like it pokes out a bit. I like the way it looks. You might not. That's perfectly fine. Just fill this part in, see what it looks like. Okay, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. That's kind of the weird part of the roof, though. Let's do the main part now. Again, just carry the full block back from here, lined up, and poking out a bit at the top. Okay, okay, bit of splash of color in there. Kind of looking beautiful, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, okay, it's coming along beautifully. Now we just gotta do this side. Again, just fill this in. Okay, all right, and with the roof filled in, it's kind of tough, low-key. Like, I'm liking it, I'm liking it. This is kind of the last part of the build where you could really easily just look at it and see if you like the shape and make a big change. So kind of fly around here and just think. I like the way it looks personally, so I don't think I'll be making any changes to my build. Maybe if you're following along with your own sort of build, maybe you don't like where a section of the, you know, the wall connects or something, you can just move it over, you know, because after this, we're gonna have texturing in and windows, and it's gonna be a bit more complicated. But for now, I'm liking it. I don't have any empty spaces or anything. I was thinking about adding a dormer, maybe if I needed to somewhere, but I think everything looks pretty filled here. Looks pretty good. Maybe we could put a dormer here, but I think it would look a bit cramped. We'll see. Let's see the vibes. Let's see the vibes here. Why not? I didn't really explain what I was doing when I was building this dormer, so I'll do it again on the other side, all right? So what you'll do, you'll kind of want to find like a center of a wall. So right here, we have this nice center here. Beautiful. Remove a bit of the roof here, and then you want to kind of make it lined up with the bottom wall, or it'll kind of look weird. Just take it up a bit, and you just kind of build the roof like normal. When it's something this small, I don't usually start slanted because you don't have room. So you just go straight to a block, and then 2 blocks. Do the same kind of curve out thing here. We just finish it off like that, and we're done. And that's kind of the dormer. Carry this roof across, why not? Does it look good? Yeah, I like it. It's not bad. It's not like the greatest thing ever. I think it's fine though. It's pretty chill. But yeah, with that, I'm happy with the shape of this house. I think it looks good. So now we're gonna start moving on to like detail stuff, which is where it starts to get, I guess, fun. I don't know. Does it get fun somewhere? It gets fun somewhere. No, but stuff like windows, doors, all that. And that's kind of where it's gonna start to like truly like come together as a house, I guess. So, I mean, of course, you want the door on the front. Usually what I do is make, like, a pretty big door and then also a pretty big window just right at the front. Over here, I guess we can get some kind of nice, like, wide window. Of course, on this dormer, you need a window. Do the same thing on the back one, of course. Why not? Over here, you might notice, like, spaces like this in your build where it's, like, kind of just one big space. Section it off. Throw a window somewhere. It'll look great, all right? You know what I mean? Just make sure you don't have one section with like too much wall. Always try to like kind of section it off a bit. All right, I'm kind of happy with the window layout there. Beautiful, low-key beautiful. Next up, since we gotta do it eventually, if you did build your house on a foundation, which you don't really have to, and also sometimes you might build it on a foundation on parts because maybe some other parts have a hill. Wow, my mouse is teleporting. Okay, we're switching mouse. Yeah, like I was saying, if your house is kind of like on a hill, maybe you might not need like a porch or anything. But if you did just sort of build your house on a foundation like this, you will need a porch. So usually what I do is just kind of extend the foundation sort of like layer out a bit. I'm gonna do something like that, why not? Texture it the same way you texture the rest of the frame. Carry the foundation block up. Beautiful, and then just settle on some kind of block here. I think I'm just gonna go spruce. Hard to fail with spruce, low-key. Spruce will never look bad, so it's pretty safe. And that's just basically it for the porch. I mean, obviously we'll add more details later and we'll put a staircase, but just for like the general shape of it, that's what we got right now. And it's low-key tough, it's low-key tough. Next up, depending on if you like doing it or not, it's time for either your favorite step or the worst thing to ever grace this planet, and that's texturing. Of course, we had a block palette earlier. This is a pretty simple one. I might mix some moss in. We're just gonna see how this looks. Looks pretty good in my opinion. And now it's time to texture the walls. I made this palette earlier, of course, as you remember. You probably have your own palette, or you copy this one. That's fine. We're gonna do is we're gonna get out stairs, and these will be for above these windows. So right there, we'll just kind of put those. They look weird now. They'll blend better later. So just above every window, I'm going to put this. It kind of just helps ease it into the glass, in my opinion. I don't know if this is like a thing most people do, or if it's just something I randomly picked up and maybe people don't really do anymore. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I like the way it looks on this style of house, at least, so I do it. It's starting to come together a lot now. Now we got the texturing blocks out still, of course, and we're just going to start. So, of course, as you can see, we kind of have like this almost gradient. You could call it a gradient. I don't know if it's really a gradient, but it kind of is. Like, I wouldn't put polished diorite right next to wool. So we kind of have it easing into it, right? And of course, if you have your own palette, you probably have similar stuff. So you just kind of try to keep it easing into like the weird parts of the palette. You know what I mean? You just go around again, just some kind of texturing going in here. Doesn't have to be too specific or anything, but I'm liking it. I'm liking it. Okay, okay. And you'll very quickly see how much better it'll look after you texture it. Like before, it looked very kind of dull and like, I mean, really like one note, you know what I mean? It looked very boring, I guess is maybe the word I'm looking for. But now just a bit of like different color in there, a bit of texturing, especially as you get farther away. Just looks really good in my opinion. So we're just gonna go around, we're gonna add this basically everywhere, and then we'll kind of come back and we'll get started on the next step, which I think is where it's really gonna like, I think it'll look really good after the next step. All right, now that we've finished texturing the walls, it's really starting to come together. I'm really liking it. Now it's time for a really important step, which I think will make like a huge difference. And that's just kind of like detailing the frame. So since I chose spruce for the frame, I have a really easy time detailing this frame because spruce is like basically the best block set, right? If you use something a bit more like weird, something like dark oak, as much as I like dark oak, I'll put on screen now, maybe if I remember. The trapdoor is such a different color than the stripped log and the shelf that it could be kind of hard to detail the frame in the same color. But because I chose spruce and also oak log, which is similar color, the detailing is basically free, right? You put a stair, you put a trapdoor, a little bit of rounding to the frame, and it looks beautiful. You could throw shelves in there, maybe. I think I'm feeling just trapdoor though for this one. And it low-key looks beautiful, bro. I'm not gonna lie. Fire. So you just basically extend this everywhere, right? Like down here, why not? And then maybe at the bottom of the foundation, you might want shelves because they kind of have like this kind of industrial look, especially, well, maybe industrial is not the right word. It's like heavy duty looking, you know what I mean? Especially the spruce ones because they have like these kind of rivets in them maybe, or like screws or something. They look sick, basically. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, just go around, round out the frame, and it'll make a huge difference. We'll kind of like look at how it looks after, and I think this is kind of the stage where it starts like looking like really sick. I don't know. We'll see. That's basically most of the frame kind of detailing done. And yeah, it's starting to really look good here, I think. Another quick thing that you really got to do that I see a lot of people forget is just cover up here with stairs, trapdoors. Again, the stairs will just line up like this. Trapdoors will cover here. Just kind of covers up that like blue or whatever other block you might have used for the roof. So we're going to do that right here. And yeah, it just makes a huge difference. You really got to do that, honestly. And yeah, now that we have these details like kind of under the roof, it's finally time. I can't put it off any longer. We got to texture the roof. And this can be a really painful process, honestly, depending on how many blocks you're using. I'm using way too many blocks for some reason. I'll show you kind of the way I would usually do it. If I'm doing like a one color, like cyan roof, for example, usually what I'll do is just a bit of concrete powder up at the corners, bit of concrete, and you can kind of just do that basically everywhere. And that'll look pretty good in most builds. Right now, I do have a bit more of an ambitious block palette that I want to try to get in here, and we'll see if it looks good or not. I don't know if it will, I'll be honest. I think it'll look pretty good though. But yeah, that's kind of what I would usually do. That's kind of what I recommend you do if you're newer. Bit of concrete powder, bit of concrete in there. Nothing crazy. Kind of in like splotches. You don't want to just like put them everywhere. You know what I mean? Just kind of texture it a little bit. Yeah, let's try to get this block palette in. Not sure if this will look good. Hold the phone. Okay, I'm liking it. Hopefully, you know, if you're making your own sort of house here, you like it after you texture the roof, because in my opinion, that's like really when the house is like basically almost done, right? It's a huge step. It looks really sick. I'm happy with it. Next up, what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna just go around. I'm gonna add windows in the spots I made for windows earlier. I'm gonna add a door where I added doors earlier, and then we're just gonna see what we're working with there, because I think we're almost done. Tough. Okay, dormers. All right, of course we got a porch here. We need stairs up to the porch. I'm done putting that off. Then we just do something real simple. I think we'll just do spruce. Carry it straight down, kind of see what it looks like. Fire. Railing, of course, on your porch. Okay. All right, next up, I'm gonna throw leaves like everywhere. A classic. Just kind of helps it like blend into the landscape a bit more. Not too many, you know, just a couple. Make it look like it's kind of, you know, been here for a while. Tough. And of course, like I said earlier, I'm gonna add some plants and stuff to the roof because I kind of have this like moss kind of thing going. Nothing crazy, just like kind of leaves. I think when building, it's kind of important to keep like in mind that like your house should have like something unique about it. You know what I mean? Like some kind of like cool identifying feature when you look at it. And I feel like that's kind of what this is for my house. It's kind of this like green vine sort of okay sort of roof here. All right, I think that's the roof done. That's kind of sick. All right, that's kind of sick. All right, we're at the stage where we're basically done. There's a couple like really important details though that you should do. First up, flower pots. So what I usually do is at every window, not quite every window, you gotta get a bit of variation in there, you know what I mean? Just throw a quick flower pot, something like that. We'll throw flowers in there in a second. It just kind of adds like a bit of color to it. All right, before we fill those, what I'm gonna do is I'm also gonna get some hanging flower pots along with some hanging lanterns, just kind of everywhere. I just kind of like the way it looked. They had a nice amount of detail to it, in my opinion. We'll add flowers in a minute. Small details like this, although like you might think like just kind of skip them. Like this is what makes the house not feel like completely soulless, right? So you kind of need these. Oh, it's so tough. Oh my God, we're cooking. We are cooking, chat. Now that the flowers are in though, this is kind of the part of the build where you just kind of fly around and you just look at if there's anything you really missed. So one thing I noticed is a lot of the times when I build a house like this with a roof that kind of curves out at the top, I put a fence gate here and a trap door there. It kind of helps the shape seem a bit more like eased into, in my opinion. So I like the way it looks. Again, you might not. You don't have to do this, obviously. I like doing it though. I forgot to earlier, so we'll just kind of throw those there. And it looks fire. I'm not going to go into interior today. Maybe another video. If this video does pretty well and you want it in the comments, I can do the interior on this build after. We'll see. Another thing, just kind of, again, make the house look like it's not here for no reason. You can kind of get a path in for it. Nothing crazy. I'm liking it. Okay. I'm going to use World Edit here to get some like grass and like ferns and stuff in. And again, while I'm flying around here and just kind of looking for anything I missed, kind of a nice spot for like a table of some sort. Super quick, nothing crazy. Pots, pressure plates, maybe they're eating here or something. And then I'm real quick gonna also gray out these windows. If I do an interior video, you know, I wouldn't have to, but we'll see. See what the future holds, you know? This house is dedicated to my patron, Blueby. I appreciate your support. If you want a house dedicated to you, it's only $3 on the Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. But with that, I think the house is done. I'm really liking how it looks. Like, this is one of my favorite houses I've built in a minute, I think. Quick shader look. This is low-key so sick. I'm really happy with it. Let me know if this tutorial sort of video helped you. I haven't really done like a kind of tutorial walkthrough sort of guide in like a while. Like some kind of like tutorials type video. I know this wasn't like the most tutorial, like I didn't explain directly how to make this house specifically, but I hope some of the tips discussed in this video kind of help you out. Let me know down below if they did. If they didn't, my bad, I guess. I'm sorry. I don't know. I tried. Let me know down below if there's any other type of like tutorial sort of videos you want me to do, you know, and I'm curious. I don't usually make content like this, but if you like it, that's cool. I'll make more. Why not? Oh yeah, thanks for watching. Join the Discord, join the Patreon, join Minecraft server, southall.us, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. And as always, thank you to my supporters, Aelic, ThaMango, Tommi, Natural High, Lezlo, Crumbcakes, Veloxra, NotZyloz, and of course, Mogswamp. See ya.